She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to.
Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Reagan. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today, as you can see from the title of this video, I am doing book recommendations about mental health issues. So since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, I decided to make this video just recommending some of my favorite books that deal with mental health issues and awareness. Since I do primarily read romance, most of these are romances that deal with those issues, but there are, I think, 2 books in here that aren't so romance heavy. So to start out, I am recommending Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. This book is so good, you guys. This is probably my favorite book out of all of these that deals with mental health issues. This book follows Merit, who is in this really messed up family. Every single person in her family has really bad issues. Her dad actually buys this church from this pastor because he hates this pastor, so he buys his church so that he doesn't have a church to pastor in, and they live in this church that's been renovated into a home, and basically it's just a really screwed up situation. Her mom, who's not married to her dad anymore, lives downstairs in the basement, and she lives upstairs with her dad and her stepmom, their new baby, and her brother and her sister, and everyone is just really screwed up. But basically this follows Merit, who is going throughout life, and she ends up meeting a guy. So there is a little bit of a romance in this, but it doesn't, in my opinion, deal with the romance more. I feel like it's more deals with the familial aspects of the mental health issues and stuff. So completely fed up with life, Merit decides to commit suicide, and she writes a suicide letter to everyone in her family, basically exposing everyone for all of the crap that they have done and all the secrets that she knows, and slides them under the door of every family member before she tries to commit suicide. And that night she fails her attempt, and the next morning she wakes up, and it's basically how she deals with everything that she exposed to her family after she had attempted to commit suicide. This book is just so good because it deals a lot with searching for that fight to live, and also it's just such a good book of healing and redemption and forgiveness and learning to love yourself and love life. So I totally recommend this book. 5 stars. Next up, we have The Coincidence of Callie and Caden and The Redemption of Callie and Caden. These books follow Callie and Caden, obviously. They are both very screwed up people. Callie actually had something traumatic happen to her when she was a child, and therefore she starts to wear baggy clothes and leaves her hair long so she can cover her face, and is just very anxious and nervous about life, and she doesn't like to trust people. And basically she finally gets to leave her hometown and go away to college, and when she gets there she meets this guy, Caden, who actually is a part of her life back home, and he also decided to go to the same school, so they reconnect, and it's their romance. This book is primarily romance, but it deals a lot with mental health issues. Callie has a lot of anxiety and fear, and Caden actually has a little bit of depression and anger built up. So this is such a good book. Caden is teaching Callie how to not be so afraid and anxious, and in turn Callie has to help Caden kind of overcome his depression and self-harm. Next up, we have The Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry. I freaking loved this book, you guys. It was so good. I mean, I meant to annotate this book when I read it, but I didn't have my sticky notes, so I literally bookmarked the pages that I wanted to go back. And can we just talk? Can we just talk about it? And some of these pages I wanted to annotate it twice on the same page, so I had to dog ear the bottom. So I need to go back through and annotate this because this book was so good. So this book follows Maggie and Brooks, and something really traumatic happens to Maggie at the very beginning of the book when she's a child, and then it speeds up 10 years later when she's, I think, 17 or 18, and Brooks is her brother's best friend, and so that's a trope if you like that. But he becomes really good friends with her, and he kind of sits with her through her pain and understands her when nobody else does. And she actually stops speaking after this traumatic event, and she also develops, I think it's called agoraphobia, where you can't leave your house because you're scared to leave. And so he pretty much just pursues her anyways as a friend, and then eventually it becomes romantic, and it's just so sweet. But by the end of the book, it's actually Brooks that needs saving and not Maggie. So this book just really got me. This book is such a story of healing and redemption and just helping each other find healing in the midst of so much pain and trauma. So highly recommend this one. Next up, we have Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. This book follows Melinda, who is a freshman in high school, and before the book begins, we find out that there is a back-to-school party at the end of summer, and at the party, Melinda ends up calling the cops, and they come and bust the party. And so going into the school year, everyone hates her. Her friends ditched her, and they don't like her anymore, and everyone is so mean to her, and they just treat her like crap. And so Melinda goes through a whole year of just depression and severe anxiety. This book is really about Melinda finding her voice. After this traumatic thing happens to her, she kind of stops speaking really slowly and stops feeling like she can share her heart and her mind, which is so heartbreaking. But her art teacher actually takes her under his wing and shows her that she can use her voice through art to really express herself and express her feelings. So this book was so good. Highly recommend. It really deals with anxiety and depression and just a story of finding yourself and finding your voice and overcoming obstacles and trials. This book has like absolutely no romance in it, so if you hate romance, I would recommend this because there's like actually no romance in this, so pick this one up. Lastly, I have On the Way to You by Candy Steiner, and this book follows Emery and Cooper. Cooper is a girl from a small town, I believe in Alabama, where she works at a diner, and one day Emery comes by, stopping in to eat, and they strike up a conversation, and he asks her what makes her happy, and she's really jarred by this question and takes her off guard. And by the end of this diner experience, Emery asks her if she will go with him across the country on an adventure to I think somewhere in Washington, or it might be California, I don't remember, but across the country to go see something. Cooper has always wanted to do something crazy like this and get out of Alabama, and she's going to college in Washington anyways, and so she decides to take him up on his offer and just get a head start and head there early. So On the Way to You is a travel romance. It follows them as they travel across the country, but Emery actually struggles with depression, and I just think that this book shows such an accurate depiction of somebody who struggles with depression. It really gives you an everyday look into what an average person who struggles with depression looks like. A lot of times in books, the characters that struggle with depression, it's because of a traumatic experience or something that happened at the beginning of the book that made them depressed. But it's really obvious from this book that Emery's just an average guy who struggles with depression, and it was so interesting to just see what daily life looks like for somebody with depression, and it was very informational. I really enjoyed reading this book. Candy Steiner did a fantastic job at this book. So if you wanted a romance that focuses more on the depression, then I totally recommend this book to you. Of course, all of these books have trigger warnings for suicide, self-harm, depression, and anxiety, so definitely be cautious going into these books if you struggle with any of those things. And lastly, make sure that you check up on your friends emotionally and mentally during this period that we're in right now. Because of the isolation and social distancing, a lot of people are struggling with depression because they can't go see their friends or be around people. So make sure that you check in on your friends this month and all the time because they really need it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Alright, bye.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her.